Happy Endometriosis Awareness Month. I never really have any feelings about this anymore. I officially, 2026, this summer will make it 20 years since I've been diagnosed with endometriosis. And it has been a wild 20 years. I want to say there's some good somewhere in there, and there have been some good moments in my life with my family and my friends and everybody that I love, but there have been so many bad things. I used to talk a lot about living with endometriosis and being chronically ill, and I pulled back because a lot of it wasn't joyful and it wasn't a lot of good stuff. I've been through several surgeries, and some of the outcomes from those surgeries have been really bad that I didn't want to talk about it and then tarnish other people's ideas of what surgery can be like and the things that can happen and stuff. And I feel that was really dumb because, you don't know unless you do it and talk about it and make other people aware of the consequences of things that can happen. And so I kind of feel like now is a really good time for me to stop doing that and to be like, hey, here are some not great things that can happen, and just to be aware of somebody who's been living this with doing this for 20 years. And one of the things a lot of people talk about is obviously when it's Endometriosis Awareness Month, that how awful the wait time is and how terrible it is to get diagnosed. And I'm not dismissing that, and I'm not arguing against it, because yes, the wait time is ridiculous. It just keeps going up and getting higher, and it is a battle to get diagnosed. It is really hard, and I struggled with that myself. I was really fortunate that my mum was a massive advocate for me and dramatically helped me. It was like, without my mum, I wouldn't have got my diagnosis. When I got my diagnosis, I would have been struggling for even longer. But at the same time, what people don't talk about as much is that what happens once you've got your diagnosis, and making people aware that it's still a goddamn battle nearly every day for help, support, for getting surgery, for getting help to get you to the surgery, because there's a wait to get to the surgery, and that's not a short wait either, depending, where you are in your hospital wait times or where you are in the world, and if you can afford to pay for that surgery in some places. And the fact that people don't talk about that one surgery doesn't usually cure you. You will likely need more than one surgery. And how is that going to figure out in your life? And in the meantime, how are you going to manage living and trying to have a semi-normal existence? And in the meantime, you're offered these hormonal substitutes, let's call them, to try and help you manage. And at the time, you're in so much pain and you're struggling so hard that you'll say yes without doing more research sometimes, or being made fully aware of the consequences. And those hormonal treatments that we are given as options to help minimize our pain or to stop the growth of the endometriosis, or at least try and slow it down, can have knock-on effects in our bodies and in our lives as well. Like, sometimes being prescribed the pill can lead to severe headaches and nausea and other non-amazing symptoms, depression, etc. And being given a fake menopause when you're in your 20s is not good for your body, really, but it's a way of you to, try and live and have a semi-normal life, as we're calling it. But at the same time, they're still harping on at you about, hey, do you want to have kids? Do you want to have babies? And if so, then you should start thinking about that now. Doesn't matter that you're only 18, 19, 20. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter if you're 30. You know, do you want to have children? And if so, you should really start thinking about doing that now, instead of, you know, being like made aware that, hey, endometriosis will affect your fertility, and in the process, all these hormones will affect it on top of your endometriosis, and you will likely need some additional help and support at the end of it to get pregnant. You may struggle for quite a while longer than is technically normal to get pregnant. You may end up needing to do IVF. You may need to have a surrogate. You may need an egg donor. You know, if you're still planning to be a parent, there are obviously other options. You can adopt, etc. But, you know, sometimes you're just not made aware of these things. And it's so hard. And this is all on top of, hey, the wait time is ridiculous. Well, so is everything else about endometriosis.